Good afternoon. It's July 20th, 2010. And
Wow.
we're here at Arlene McNeil's house with her and Gina to record another oral history for the Ellensburg Rodeo Hall of Fame Oral History Project. So, ladies, would you state your full name and place of birth and date of birth, if you're comfortable?
Yes, I would. I was born in Conrad, Montana. It's out on the plains, and spent my early years on the Marias River, where there was no way in and no way out except a horseback. And when I finally got out, I ended up in Puyallup, where I went to high school, and met a quarter horse inspector by the name of Bud McNeil, and ended up marrying him and moving to Ellensburg, and was lucky enough to get into one of the nicest families that ever lived anywhere. And I've been real satisfied in the Kittitas Valley, and hope to spend quite a few more years here.
You do too. What year was it that you moved to the valley?
My first rodeo that I went to in Ellensburg was in 1946. I married Bud in 47 and went to every performance from then until just a few years ago, when they added the bull riding, and I didn't go to that.
You're not talking about every rodeo since 1946, you're talking every performance
Right.
since 1946.
Right.
Wow.
Well, Bud was involved with the rodeo, and we were together all the time, so
Natural that you...
yes, and we rodeoed throughout the state, actually the Northwest, and got to know most of the cowboys as friends.
Sure.
And it's been a good life. I really enjoyed it.
What, how old were you when you left Montana?
14, 13, I think.
So in your teen years.
Mhm.
Now, was rodeo a part, or was your family involved in ranching in Montana? Or?
Ranching, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was your exposure to rodeo in those Montana years?
Rodeo.
You were working.
Didn't even know what it was then.
Okay.
But
So let's see, that had been in the early 40s, I guess, or,
I guess.
yeah, or late 30s. And so, rodeo along the Marias River, is that what you said?
On the Marias River, and the only people that we ever saw was a family member that would come a horseback once in a while,
Okay.
or a trapper. And so we saw very, very few people.
So this idea that rodeo evolved from ranch hands getting together and having contests on the weekends, there wasn't any of that happening where you were?
No, my dad at that time was during the Depression, and my dad was breaking horses and trading horses, whatever. And one time we had a bunch of horses in the corral there, and my mother was watching a couple of the cowboys that was supposed to be breaking them, and they given them throw the rope this way.
Oh,
you know.
horse loop?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And they couldn't get them caught. She stood there and watched them for a few minutes, and finally she said, "Here, give me the rope." She walked in the corral, roped me to a horse, and walked back out to the house.
Did she tell your dad?
I saw it.
Oh, no, but I mean, I wondered if they were looking for new jobs or.
No, she was tickled to have them there to ride them.
Yeah. So your upbringing and background in terms of rodeo was the real deal. It wasn't come to town to do the rodeo, it was,
No,
you were involved with the.
I don't know, I hadn't started school yet, and my dad came home one time with a saddle and a pair of shoes. And one day I was out riding by myself and up through the woods, and I fell off, hung up. But I wasn't big enough to get hit. I was just hung up.
Just riding.
Yeah. And
Dang.
my dad told me after that, saddle or shoes, not both.
Got it. Let's introduce Gina, or hear a little bit about her rodeo background, or youth, I guess. Let's start there, Gina.
Well, obviously, this is my mother. I was born here on this ranch in 56. And if she never missed a performance of the Ellensburg Rodeo, I don't suppose I did either for a long time. Got to watch Dad rope a few times. He didn't rodeo much after I was born. He went to Calgary a couple times and roped, but
By the time you were of age to really remember him roping,
Yeah.
got a couple daughters like that myself.
yeah, he quit. When I was ready to go, he quit. Apparently I was too expensive.
So you took over the role as the rodeo person in the family. At what, did you high school rodeoed? Or?
I didn't.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Dad would never let me rope. He said, women without fingers are ugly.
So, okay.
Didn't like women without fingers.
Breakaway
Mom
wasn't
rope.
really.
It wasn't. We didn't communicate well as teacher and student. And I never thought I could do anything right, so I just quit. You know, so we never did. And high school rodeo was just really getting started, and when I was in school in 70-something.
But without question, he gave you an understanding of the love of horses and,
Yeah.
and rodeo in general.
Yeah.
I think.
Actually,
Don't blame me.
well, it was your fault.
All our friends, here in the valley and actually in the whole state, if we knew them, they rodeoed.
Okay.
And so they were real important people to us and still are,
Sure.
those that still are around. We started out knowing cowboys of our age. Bud had worked the chutes from the time he was a little kid, putting cattle up the chutes and so forth, and continued on, well, most of his life, didn't he?
In one respect or another, he was helping put on the Ellensburg Rodeo.
Yeah, he was
From
the
the time
shoe
he
boss
was-
for a long time.
Yeah.
Then when he
The
quit,
roping
Stubb took over, right?
Mhm.
Now, your dad's family, Gina, how long had they been in the valley?
All our life.
Yeah.
Your dad was born and raised here.
Mostly raised here. There was some time that they spent in Tacoma because Grandpa worked for the railroad.
Okay.
But his father, so my great-grandfather, yeah, was a early county commissioner, and I mean, they've been here for,
So Bud's granddad was a
yeah.
pioneer, was a early settler. Now, so was his family a part of the development of the rodeo, or establishment, I should say, of the rodeo? Do you know, or was?
Probably from the Hanson side more. Fred Hanson. I've read in the history about when they cleared the ground for the arena, and his name is mentioned.
Okay. That's your maternal.
I guess it would be before Fred. I don't know. I don't know the.
Trying to get the timeline
Yeah.
straight for us, but if your dad was involved with the rodeo as a youngster, what was his dad or his parents or family's involvement? Did they have, other than being ranchers, did they?
Did Grandpa take tickets or something, it seems like,
I couldn't tell you.
when Dad was a kid?
I don't remember. But at that time, I mean, they'd been here all their lives.
Sure, if you
And
were,
so,
if you're a part of the community, you're a part of the Ellensburg Rodeo.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Yeah. That's
Now
one of the
I-
neat things about it. What, then what, I guess what would have prompted your dad's interest in it? I mean, was it that he roped himself? And that's why he started working the chutes, or I mean?
well, he worked the chutes before he started roping. I
Okay.
mean, he did it as a kid.
That's why we start roping, isn't it? So we can quit working the shoes.
There you go. Natural progression, isn't it? Not bad, come full circle.
You're back.
I stay right where I'm at. Let's see here. I should know the answer to this question. Did you ever compete at the Ellensburg Rodeo? Or were you?
Yes.
Okay.
One time.
Okay.
One time, I think it was the first barrel race that they ever had
Okay.
here in Ellensburg. We had a hard time getting barrel race accepted
Oh,
at
okay.
the Ellensburg Rodeo. Anyway, I had a horse, ranch horse. He'd never been off the place. I rode him to town for some reason or other, don't remember why, probably just to warm him up. Anyway, it was an evening, a night performance. And he'd never been in a rodeo arena. And that was a dumb thing to do.
Looking back.
Yeah. Anyway, he did all right on the first two barrels. The third barrel was up by the bucking chutes, and it spooked him. And he ran off. I mean, out the gate. And
That was your one and only?
and it was in the dark.
Oh, okay.
And went out there, and of course, I knew that fence around the racetrack was coming. It was dark out there, and boy, I mean, we was going at it. And he hit the dark and stopped and started shaking.
Froze him up in the dark. He come out of that light and cut part of the night line, didn't he?
And I don't know if it was him shaking or if it was me.
Did you just uncinch right there and walk to the trailer like you're doing?
So I had to ride home.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Well, Gina, you've won money at the Ellensburg Rodeo.
No. No,
Surprise, huh?
never had that
Okay.
kind of horse.
Okay.
Or
Competed
maybe
several
I've not
times,
been that caliber, whatever.
Didn't work out.
Yeah, it didn't work out.
Yeah.
I tried a few times, yeah. Yep.
You're,
Just for the love of it. I mean, it isn't, for me, entering, it wasn't about, you thought you were gonna win any money, because the chances of that were pretty slim.
when you entered, you just didn't, your horse or didn't
Yeah.
feel like you were competitive that way,
Right.
but the
But it's-
rodeo was set.
Yeah, good seasoning, for
Sure.
a young horse.
One of the best rodeos in the world at your hometown.
Absolutely,
So,
lots of fun. And how many people get to say that they entered 5 rodeos one year and followed Charmaine James at every one of them?
Not all.
It's not a good feeling.
Somehow you kind of slide between the cracks, I think. Well, we all know that you're past royalty, Ellensburg Rodeo Queen.
Yeah.
Did you have any involvement, or what was your involvement in the rodeo prior to being on the royal court?
Just spectator.
Spectator
Yep.
and
Yeah.
fan.
Mhm.
After or since then, what other roles have you, I'm not sure, maybe a secretary or help or?
helped with secretarian. I timed it several years. And then we carried the sponsor flag for a long time.
That's right. Yeah, you were, you and Janine Pratt kind of
And Lonnie and,
spearheaded that, I
Yeah.
think.
we,
Were asked to,
yeah, Janine came in 3 or 4 years into it.
okay. You and Lonnie were the first
Yeah.
of the people that got it off the ground.
Yeah.
How, do you remember how many sponsor flags that first year?
We think there were 6 the first year,
Now there's 20?
or
More or more?
Yeah, wow. I mean, it's
There's a lot.
become
it was a lot more fun then.
well, it's
Because of course, the point for us was to see just how fast you could go
Yeah, yeah.
and try to make it different, not a drill team, not a, not boring. And one year I was sitting in the rope and chutes waiting to go, and Strand Smith was leaned up against the chute there, and there was a guy that he was traveling with that came up and said, "What's next?" "Oh," he looks up, "a drill team." And Strand says, "This ain't no drill team, you need to watch this."
Well, that's a compliment.
It was a huge
Yeah,
compliment.
Huge, yeah, world champion calf ropers saying, no, these ladies know how to ride. It's
Yeah,
not-
and have been everywhere, seen everything,
Yeah,
If they're into it, then I was all about it.
Shoot, yeah, that's neat. That is something that I remember, or that stands out with that sponsorship flag deal is the ladies that started knew how to ride, were cowgirls.
Yeah.
There wasn't.
Well, most of them, the original 6 or 8, 6, were all ranch girls that ran barrels and roped and,
They did ride, yeah.
Yeah, Lisa McNeans and Lonnie and me, and it was a good group. And we had Janice Sutton, of course, in case we needed to pick up man. And we did a few times.
Yeah. Outrider.
Outrider,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
that-
Carry a flag, and if we need you, come on.
What else do we have here? This is a good one, an interesting one. How did the Ellensburg Rodeo you knew as young people, both of you, differ from what we see today? What do you miss the most, and what do you?
Well, I'll tell you one, that they add the new medical team. And back in the old days, there was no such thing. And in the cow milking one year, one of the boys from Leavenworth got wiped. He was mugging a cow for somebody, probably Hardy Shore, and got wiped out. The guys rode up and looked down and said, "You need some help?" He said, "No, just roll me under the fence. I'll be okay."
Needless to say, there wasn't a Justin Healer there to help anybody out, huh?
No, nobody there. You just had to
I'll be
take it as it
all right.
was.
Yeah. Well, in that respect, yeah, it was more cowboy than today. I mean, I kind of came of age when rodeo was, I don't know if progressing's the right word, but changing from, it seemed like more ranch oriented and cowboy. As
To
I grew up as a
professional.
town kid. Well, I was, yeah, an athlete, but I sure wasn't a cowboy. Folks, my parents and family's background, because they were merchants, and so Gary Anderson, my dad, he had the store. That's one that kind of lit my fire about the rodeo, but it's changed from, and that's a good example of it, Those guys now look like, well, no, cowboys are still
Oh, they
tougher than
still-
most athletes.
Yeah,
They are.
They take advantage of modern medicine.
Yeah, well, you see so many accidents of bull riding and so forth that it's good to have some help.
Yeah, that's a positive change.
You bet.
Sure. What's something that you remember from your earlier rodeos, Gina, or something that's changed that you like or don't like or think is progress?
Well, the facilities sure changed
I don't know.
over the years. Some of it probably not as positive about as other parts.
Do you like the rodeo being, or the seating being more intimate and the spectator being more a part of the arena, or did you like the?
Oh, change is hard.
Well, yeah.
I miss the feeling that we had when it was, you know, a 300 by 600 arena and kind of
What
wide
were the
open.
dimensions when?
I think it was about 3 by 6, just under 3 wide.
And that's with the sheets where they are now and no gold buckle club?
Yeah.
Okay.
But as a spectator, it's gotta be better now.
It's more exciting, just think, remember that cow that jumped over the fence onto in front of the grandstand there? And before anybody could get their ropes down, Janet Sutton had a rope.
Yeah. Somebody from Seattle got a thrill that.
But now I keep thinking, I don't think I'd want to sit in that front row in case a bull jumped in there.
You know, but they haven't.
That's what, yeah.
It's surprising, isn't it?
Compared to how many used to jump the fence onto the track.
When they
Like
had
the
the
horses, the
fence,
bulls,
yeah.
and everything.
Yeah.
Cow milking cows, everybody tried to jump it. But they kind of seem like they want to
All those
stay in a
people
little better.
scare them.
Yeah.
I wonder if rodeo stock isn't more more trained now, you know. I don't know, back in the day, did stock contractors bring their horses and bulls in it 2 or 3 days early and run them out the out gate? And
Now you quit looking at me when you're talking about the old days.
I said back.
You're looking at me.
Okay.
You may look at me anytime you want.
Did they bring them in? Or did they maybe go from one rodeo to the next rodeo grounds a little more than taking them home? And
I think probably, but it's all kind of scary. I spent quite a few years as brand inspector, and one of my jobs was to go to St. Beard's and inspect the bulls before they left the state with them.
Okay, sure.
And you had to go out and walk through all these Brahmas, and they was standing there pawing, and
Frank telling you stories.
I always made it a point to walk behind him.
There you go, that's a good idea. Yeah, good trick, yeah. You still have your pocket knife.
There's still a lot of danger in the rodeo stock, especially the bulls.
Yeah, that element's not gonna leave, you know, no matter how good a medical personnel or whatever.
Yeah, you still gotta get hurt first.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You mentioned the friends that you made while you and Glen were rodeo, and Gina, I know it's the same with you. Who are some of the people that you'd say their name that you met at the Ellensburg Rodeo or as a part of rodeo?
I knew, I can't think of his name now.
Okay.
okay, then I'll tell them.
Announcer.
Oh,
you tell one.
Oh, shoot.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Nina forgot.
No. It's gonna be a long night.
Yeah.
I remember meeting Harry Charters when I was about 6.
Okay.
Now, I mean, he was a big man, but when you're 6, he's a huge man. I remember that, and Harley May the same year. Both
He was
very
another
big
good size.
guys, yeah, but real.
That picture of, is it Harley or is it Charters? It's might have been a cow in Ledka's book for smoke, maybe. I think.
Charters.
Is it Harry? Yeah, and he that's the only.
Dwarfs the
Yeah,
cow.
yeah, I think that's the impression I have of Harry Charters.
Huge guy, huge.
Just,
Yeah. I remember just thinking.
Is he the one that got his leg broke and they moved the chute?
Yes.
Yeah, horse hit the side of the chute coming out because it came at an
hold on,
angle
okay, okay.
and broke his leg.
Broke his leg, but actually physically moved the chute too.
Yeah, it moved the chute.
Well, the Ellensburg Rodeo Board moved the chute.
Oh, as a result, okay, I thought he ran into it, not.
Oh, no, it was solid.
Yeah,
There was no give to it because it came out of that corner.
George Prescott. Is that who you were trying to think of?
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah, he was an announcer for.
When my son was little, he said that he was Indian and he wanted to dance with the Indians at the Ellensburg Rodeo.
Your boy told
Yeah,
George this.
he told us
Oh,
this,
okay.
I was thinking about the announcer.
That's what I said, George Prescott. Your friend George. Stab a little
I-
knife in his leg because it's wooden. Same guy.
The same guy. Did you ever hear that
I
one?
didn't hear that story.
Mouse runs up his pant leg in the barn up at bar 14. Same guy.
Yeah. I spent a little time with her, so maybe I'm starting to get.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I'm going to change the subject. I'm going to go back to that story.
Okay.
We were at Mills, and there was a bunch of, at the
Mill Settlement Talks.
Saddle and Talks,
Yeah.
and there was a bunch of people come to the Ellensburg Rodeo, and there's a bunch of the guys sitting there, and all of a sudden George comes out of the back, and he pulled his knife out of his pocket, throws it into George's leg.
George
Mills.
throws it into George
George
Prescott's
Prescott's leg. Yeah, and all these people, ah, you know.
This is Western.
And of course, they didn't realize that was his wooden leg.
Well, now, during rodeo time, did you have people out to the ranch, and was this kind of a
Oh, you're kidding.
stop? Let me rephrase that. How big a crowd would you host during rodeo?
Well, to put it this way, when I was first married, we were living in the over at Menashtash with Bud's folks. And when Mom went to get breakfast, she'd go to the door and count how many came out of the bunkhouse.
Okay.
So she'd know how many to fix breakfast for. Things didn't change a whole lot when we moved over here,
They just moved locations, yeah.
more or less. Yeah.
I think that's one of my favorite parts about the Ellensburg Rodeo, as we've been conducting these histories.
Well, the big part about the rodeo in general was how close your friends got to be. You know, they were from all over the state, and that was the big event of the year, is when they came to Ellensburg and could come and stay and visit and,
Yeah, see your place.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, it was great. We really enjoyed the years of rodeo.
We were just talking about that recently, the change in rodeo. Gina, you lived through it, where, there is no stopping it
Right.
at somebody's house unless it's between during the week.
Yeah.
If you're.
Monday to Thursday, maybe.
Yeah,
You need a
exactly.
place
That's
to
when
hang
those
out.
things happen, but they weren't in large numbers. That's a change that I see that
Oh, yeah.
we kind of missed out on. Right?
Yeah. Since people rodeo as hard as they do now, we've had a few people come by and stay off and on occasionally, and Martha and R.E. Josie stayed here a few times when they were out, and just all the excitement that goes with Martha. I mean, it's constant turmoil all the time. She's got things with her hair and her nails, and she, so when she's stopped, she makes a jillion appointments, she meets everybody in town, and she'd come home and come back from town and say, oh, I met so-and-so, aren't they nice? And I'd go, I don't know. Of course, I'm not a nails person, but she knew all kinds of people and just talked to everybody and met everybody, and
She was unique that way.
Very unique that way. I asked her one time, don't you get sick of being on all the time? And she said, no, really, that's the part I like. Okay.
I can't remember where I read it. There was recently a brief biography of her, and must have been a barrel racing publication that Jody gets, but you didn't see it, I guess.
No, I didn't.
Boy, it was, I'll kind of that, it was neat. It told about her growing up, and I think her father died early, and her mom figured out a way to go barrel racing.
My favorite one was she ended up with this good horse. By default. Somebody else wanted to buy him, and the guy that owned him was a friend of theirs, and he didn't want to sell this horse to this lady, who turned out to be a friend of mine many years later. So she was an excellent basketball player. She wasn't into running barrels or anything, but she went and got this horse so that this other woman couldn't have him. And so then, now you got this really great horse, you need to go. But they didn't have any trailer or anything, and so they had this old Cadillac, and they get a U-Haul trailer in town, and they she and her cousin would go to the rodeo, and she'd make him roll up the windows and pretend like they had air conditioning in the car.
Pretend.
Pretend.
We can remember going to the beach when we get close, we want to get real hot.
Things change a lot, over their life. I spent a couple of winters with them. One time we had to go to a yard sale. Well, she took her big motorhome with her big trailer, horse trailer behind it. And when we came back from that sale, it was full. And
that's yard sale in there.
Well, yeah, this yard sale though is, they call it First Monday in Canton, Texas. I mean, it's huge and world famous.
Okay.
It's a little different yard sale.
Yeah, and when we got home, she pulls in the gate, gets out and takes something out and puts it here. Drives a little ways, puts it here, puts it there.
It'd take quite a while to unload it.
And got to my place in my trailer, and here, would you keep this for a while? Okay, I take whatever it is. Well, what she was doing was hiding all this stuff from RE, so we didn't know what all she bought.
Before she got to the house, good idea. Again, for the record.
I shouldn't have said that.
Well, perhaps they won't see it, but we're talking about Martha Josie and her husband RE who have become good friends.
Well, I really think that RE knew all the time.
I'm sure.
It wasn't his first time being tricked.
They were wonderful people, though.
And your relationship with them developed because of the Ellensburg Rodeo, or in large part, your interest in it.
Very much so. I think Gina got to work in their clinics through the state from her work in Ellensburg Rodeo.
Okay.
From the lady that didn't get to buy the horse.
Yeah.
That's
how you became.
It's a very small world.
Well, this is supposed to be for
the Ellensburg Rodeo.
For the Ellensburg Rodeo and real, not just us having fun telling stories.
Well, they're about the Ellensburg Rodeo. What other good rodeo stories do you have? Ellensburg Rodeo.
Ellensburg Rodeo.
Yeah.
How about when Alan McCrae was in the Bulldog?
Well,
do you remember this?
I don't know if I guess tell me more of the story,
Well, he was riding Pat Nowell's old horse Irish.
Oh, yeah.
And you're not gonna stop. So anyway, he's not.
You get off Irish.
He had missed his opportunity to get safely onto the steer. And Irish is running away as hard as he can. And he was off on the side of the horse. And the next thing you know, he's gone around the chest and he's getting back on the other side without ever getting to the ground.
Yes, I do.
Best trick ride I ever saw, and he was in a bulldog.
This is Alan McRae, Kid McRae, arena director Kid McRae's son.
That's the best one I ever saw.
Did he go to his dad and ask for a contract?
He should. I don't think he ever wanted to do that again.
Probably not.
Arlene has a great one of Myron on the wall.
I remember.
I'll have to show that to you.
That isn't the one where he's upside down or doing some
Yes.
chiropractor work. Yeah, that's a kind of a famous picture, I think.
Yep, it is.
Tommy Pratt's pretty proud of those buckles, though, I can tell you that.
You know, I don't think any rodeo is a big deal in itself. It's the people that, you know, that put it on and the people that come and, you know, as far as being different, you know, they'd all be the same because it's all the basic same events. And so if you don't get to know the people.
What distinguishes one rodeo from another
Right.
is the committee or the contestants and the town people.
I'm having a little trouble with rodeos anymore. You know, I used to know most of the people that rodeoed, especially here in the Northwest with the Ellensburg Rodeo. And now, the only ones I get to watch are their grandkids.
Well, means you've lived a good long life.
And you remember more than you tell.
It's probably I tell more than I remember. Aren't we out of time yet?
Well, I don't know. How about parting words of wisdom, Arlie? What do you, something that, when you think of the Ellensburg Rodeo or your experiences with the Ellensburg Rodeo that you...
Well, it's always been kind of like going home, because we knew so many of the people, but at the same time, Ellensburg Rodeo is very professional. It's well done, well put on, and it comes from all different kinds of people. For instance, every time I walk up the stairs to get into the stands, I have basically the same seats. The gal at the gate speaks to me because we've known one another for so long. She has donated her time, volunteered, take those tickets, tell you where you sit, and all that kind of stuff. And it's people like her that make the Ellensburg Rodeo. Whether it's at the gate, stopping you from getting lost, or protecting you from getting in harm's way. No, it's the people that work, volunteers, most of them, that make the Ellensburg Rodeo.
Stacy and I have been doing these oral histories for a year now, I guess, or a little better, and that's a consistent thing you hear about Ellensburg Rodeo from local people and contestants.
Really?
You know, that it's the people at Ellensburg. Charlie Sampson, I think, was it last year during his induction speech, and then when we interviewed him as well, same comment, you know, whether it's the guy downtown at the drugstore, he's glad to see it. It's not an imposition, you know, I can remember friends coming to, rodeo friends of mine, staying here during the summer, and in August, they'd go downtown, they'd have their hats on or whatever, and the merchants would say, "Are you getting ready for rodeo?" You know, and as if it was the only rodeo in the world.
Right.
You know, but to our community, it kind of is. And understandably, I mean, it is unique in that respect. I think
Well, it's one of the best rodeos a person will see, no matter where you go. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. It's gonna make somebody feel so important. But really
I
it is.
remember maybe
Very
you
good.
had this feeling, Gina, I thought all rodeos were like the Ellensburg rodeo. Growing up,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
when this is your rodeo,
Yeah.
and then you start to go to a few others and prestigious rodeos.
When they had the major discussion about moving the grounds out to the interchange, I said, then it's just another rodeo. I mean, part of what makes Ellensburg special is the setting. You hear the contestants from out of the country say that all the time, "Oh my God, that's such a neat setting."
Yeah,
You know, if you just put it in a cow pasture, it's just another rodeo.
Yeah, you can make a stadium, but then it's just, like
Yeah.
you say, a stadium.
Yeah, very special and very unique.
And that goes back to the people part of it, you know, the people of our community picked that spot. I don't know, you know, it was a good one.
It was a good spot,
Yeah.
yeah. It's been a good spot forever.
Oh, there was one I forgot to tell you.
These are the best ones.
One day before the rodeo, Bud and I were down there doing something, I don't even remember what, and Slim Pickens is trying to dig a hole in the Ellensburg arena.
You didn't know Wilson Creek ran through there, did he?
Oh, he was
He's from Oklahoma, you know, yeah.
he was getting so frustrated.
You didn't even know what a rock bar was.
I don't remember if he ever got the job done. I think they faked it. But anyway, he got his little program done. Well, I saw the same thing at Puyallup one time. And he's injured and he goes down in this hole. They bury him, you know, and put him in this hole. And later in the show, here comes this big guy off the top of the grandstand on a wire, and he's got wings.
Oh, he's an angel now?
He's an angel, and he comes whooshing down off the top of the grandstand into the arena. And I mean, it's quite a sight.
Yeah.
Slim comes out of the ground. Then
Raised
next
from
thing
the
you-
dead.
Yeah, raised from the dead.
He wasn't 6 feet under in the Ellensburg rodeo.
We got quite a kick out of him trying to dig a hole in Ellensburg arena.
Here's a question for you, Gina. How has the ground at the Ellensburg rodeo evolved or changed?
Oh, that's so loaded. That is so loaded now. Okay, well.
This might be on the brand website. No, I get.
Well, in my early records.
I remember it rockier.
Yeah.
Certainly.
And
still is.
everybody complained, I mean, all the barrel racers particularly complained about the ground here being slick and hard and rocky and.
This is 1970s,
70s,
1980s,
yeah.
okay.
And we'd go down a few days before the rodeo and pick rock, a whole bunch of us, on our little barrel club when we started that.
Yeah. I think
Or
a number
we
of
got some
clubs,
more
4-H
people.
clubs, I remember
Yeah.
as a 4-H kid, that was part of the
Picking
duty.
rock in the arena. Well, then they brought in the, I guess this is sand one.
Okay, okay.
And with, when they worked the dirt into it, it was pretty good.
Okay.
And then one year I told them I thought they needed a subsoiler, go in there and break up that hard pan.
Okay.
We knew it'd bring up a lot of rocks, but we really didn't know how to bring up a whole bunch of water pipes that were running underneath the arena. That didn't go so good.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Have enough time for a rodeo to get everything patched up or not?
I don't think they got real far before they found the water bugs.
So we didn't take the subsurface out?
No.
Okay.
So they started working it a little different. Well, then they began to haul in shavings from the stalls. And then it was really slick and really nasty. The shavings in that sand, there was nothing to get a hold of. It was terrible. And then we had a big flood and it took out all the ground and the people celebrated. And the fairgrounds got to start over with new sand. And the rodeo board, since, well, Bill Lau has been a major part of it, I think, getting the ground better than it's ever been. I realize that as far as barrel racing goes, it's tricky to get the right amount of water that's going to last through slack all day, you know, or if you have the barrel race first, then it's wet and sticky then, and then it's good later in the day.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
an
hard.
intricacy that non-barrel racers don't understand.
Yeah, don't get that. And
what
so
it
the
is.
times here can be, you know, fluctuate greatly depending on the year and the, the water conditions.
Preparation.
Yeah, preparation. And now they've got more shavings going in there. So hopefully, I guess we can just ask for another flood.
There you go. Well, it is.
It can be done, it's just making it harder, I think, to have good, better ground. Jody's race in June was a prime example of that it can be done.
Yeah, and I don't know how expensive it is or how, you know, I'm just learning that there are people whose business is to prepare ground for
Right.
different equine events.
Yeah. I've got a friend that's married to a guy that's a arena consultant.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they'll tell you exactly what you need, and that'd be great.
Yeah, maybe you'd be money ahead at some point to say, okay, consultant, what's our cost if we do it one time right?
Yeah.
You know, and maybe something to explore.
So
Ladies, thank you. What else do we?
Well, it's been fun visiting with you, and I hope you can kind of doctor this up.
Put some fancy music to it.
Yeah, right.
Don't show anybody, that would be the best.
No, we hope to
But
show a lot of folks.
There's a couple guys that have been my favorites. Jerry Anderson
Okay.
and Ed Tucker.
Thank you. Yeah. I can remember, I was thinking about it today. My dad was the Royal Court Director when Gina was the Queen, and
Year before.
was it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I had John Stevens.
Oh, okay,
Sissy.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. But, so Dad wasn't the Royal Court person?
No, but they dressed me.
Oh, okay. Were you involved in a beach party down on the river as part of the Royal Court?
Hey, now, I haven't heard about this.
Not me, man.
That's for another day, it sounds like.
No, true.
No beach party,
No beach
okay. Well, yeah, Jerry Anderson and Ed Tucker are a couple of my favorites as well.
Yep.
Ladies, thank you.
Thank you.